Home Affairs Minister Claire O'Neill yesterday said that cybersecurity is the most dangerous threat to our nation since the Second World War. During her National Press Club address, she signalled her intention to make Australia the most secure cyber-secure country in the world, but not until 2030. This comes in the wake of multiple data breaches to high-profile brands, compromising the sensitive and private data of millions, literally millions of Australians. Joining me live to discuss this now is the Director of Cyber Intelligence for CYBERCX, Katherine Mansted. Katherine, thanks so much for your time. Obviously, this is something that politicians are starting to talk a lot more about. How vulnerable are we compared to the rest of the world?
Look, Australia is in no worse or better position than a lot of the highly digitalised, wealthy economies around the world. Our economies and our businesses are more connected, and every day are more connected than they were the previous day. And our social interactions happen online as well. Our democracy, for instance, much of what happens to determine who is elected is occurring via social media and via our interconnected internet. So the attack surface for us is big, and it is growing bigger. And of course, those who would want to do us harm, the threat actors, the cyber threat actors, are also unfortunately multiplying. And partly that's a financial calculus. It's good business, unfortunately, to be in the black market economy of cybercrime. And it's also partly driven by globally deteriorating geopolitical circumstances as well.
Where are we most vulnerable? Because obviously, government has been talking about this. There has been breaches in Parliament in the past, but more recently, we're looking at some of these, big companies, Optus, Medibank, for just to name a couple. So is it corporate Australia that is a bit behind the eight ball on this?
Look, I think the reality is anywhere where we are operating with an internet connection, and in the modern world, that's everywhere, there are going to be points of vulnerability. The key is being able to manage that vulnerability, that cyber risk, whether you're government, whether you're the big end of the corporate town, or whether you're also a small to medium enterprise. And I think sometimes when we focus on corporations and governments, we actually miss where the bulk of Australia's economy is. And of course, where a lot of cyber risk sits as well, which is small to medium enterprises. Now, of course, what we need to think about as well is harm. And when we focus on governments and critical infrastructure, often we're doing that because the harm of a cyber attack in those sectors can be catastrophic to Australia's national interest and to Australia's people. But risk, cyber risk, is something that all of us will need to start taking, and are already starting taking a lot more seriously.
Yeah, Katherine, what do you do as an individual though? Because, I mean, if you're an Optus customer, for example, you need to give over your private information because that's what the company demands. Is there anything we can do as individuals to better protect ourselves?
Well, firstly, I'd say I think we've had a national reckoning actually on cyber, on privacy and data protection. And if anything good has come over the last 3 months, where we've had so many high-profile breaches, really affecting up to potentially 1 in 2 Australians. The good thing from that is that we're now talking about it a lot more, and we've had a national reckoning on the importance of our data. And people now are questioning, do I need to hand this data over? What's the privacy policy of the company that I'm handing it to? Will they look after it? But it's not just on the individual here. Of course, there is a role, and a big role, for government to play. Part of that is on compliance and regulation, but the other part is on law enforcement as well. Australia shouldn't be a permissive environment for cyber criminals to walk into and victimise Australian organisations. So there is a big role, and the Cyber Minister has indicated she'll be doing more in this space, but there's a big role for law enforcement to stop cyber crime and stop cyber criminals before they cause us harm.
Katherine, a pleasure to talk to you. You always put it simply for us. And as you say, quite a reckoning we've experienced here in Australia of late. Thanks so much. We'll be speaking again soon.